The next section we'll look at is the site content reporting section. This section is very important as it helps you to understand the performance of the content on the website. When you expand this section, you will see 4 reports within: the All Pages report, the Content Drill Down report, the Landing Pages report, and the Exit Pages report. Let's begin with the All Pages report. You will be able to see every page URI, which is the part of your page URL that comes right after the domain, under the dimension page. You may also choose to switch the primary dimension of the report to the page title. The page title is actually the SEO title of the page and is what shows up on search results. I recommend adding a secondary dimension of page title to the page dimension so that you can compare the page title with the page URI for greater context. By default, the data in this report is sorted based on the page views. This shows you how frequently these pages were viewed and immediately helps you to identify the most popular page on your website. You will be able to also find other metrics here, such as the average time on page and bounce rate, which tell you how engaged users were on each page of your website. Sorting through this will help you to identify where you can make changes or improvements to your pages. We will discuss this in more detail in the next lesson. The last column on the far right is the page value metric. The page value will show a 0 for every page unless you have set up goals with values or if you are using e-commerce tracking. This page value can give you an idea of how important pages are for generating revenue for your business. Let's say your conversion goal is to sell a shirt, and the conversion with a value is triggered when a user lands on the thank you page. Google Analytics then assigns a value to the page the user navigated on your website before conversion. Based on the algorithm utilized, the thank you page generally ends up with the highest page value, and earlier pages visited along the journey have lower values as unique page views tend to increase further up the funnel. To get better insights on your pages, it is recommended to set values for your conversion goals. The next report that you'll see under the section is the Content Drill Down report. This report is interesting if you have a well-defined website information hierarchy. The report groups all your pages according to the information hierarchy of your site, defining your page path. This helps when you're trying to analyze and compare the performance of particular sections in your website. For example, the Google Merchandise Store has product category pages and product pages. The page path for each product category page is unique, and every product under that category is a subset under that page path. For example, the apparel product category has a page path /Google plus redesign /apparel, and every product under this category has the page path of /Google plus redesign /apparel /product name, where you can replace the product name accordingly. You can also click into each of the page paths and understand the performance of pages in relation to that group rather than the entire website. Besides that, you have the landing pages report that shares the pages that visitors arrive at your website on. You may notice that this report is the only report under the behavior section that breaks down the data into acquisition, behavior, and conversions. This can tell you the user journey, showing which pages they start the journey on and their behavior on these pages and what actions they are taking. Visitors may land on different pages on your website based on their intention and your marketing channels and ongoing campaigns. An important metric in your landing pages report is your bounce rate. You will be able to compare individual page bounce rates with the average website bounce rate and determine the performance of your content in keeping visitors engaged. When you see a high bounce rate, this usually means that the page content might not be relevant or engaging for those users. For example, for the first quarter of 2020, the Google Merchandise Store's YouTube brand page had a bounce rate of around 53% compared to the average bounce rate of 47%. With over 14,000 visits originating on this page, you may want to look into why over half of these ended up as a bounce by determining the user intent and whether the page is meeting this intent sufficiently. A pro tip is to use this report to figure out which final landing page URL you will want to drive traffic to. If you see pages with higher conversion rates and low bounce rates, That is a good indicator that if your ad campaigns lead to these landing pages, there will be a higher chance of conversion. Finally, the exit pages report identifies which page visitors are leaving your website from, showing you the leaks in your funnel. When you analyze these pages, you want to determine why people are leaving and how you can get them to stay longer and interact further with your website. Bear in mind that your conversion page may have high exit rates, as visitors usually leave once they have completed the conversion action you intend for them. We've covered all the sections of the site content. Next, we will move into the site speed reporting section. See you in the next video.